Hey everybody, welcome back to OldBeardedGaming. It has been a hot minute since we have played RlCraft. In fact, last time we finally completed all of our fishing nonsense, caught that magic carp. If you haven't checked out that video, please do so. It was relatively intense, incredibly time consuming, to say the least, but it's done. And that means we have absolutely zero excuses left. We are ready to try to go to the Lost Cities. As we let the world load in here, my apologies for the delay in getting this video out to you guys. After getting that Magikarp, I kind of thought off to say, okay, there really isn't anything more that we need to do. We're getting ready for kind of the end game here, as it were, to say that we have completely beaten 2.9 RlCraft, and I'm not gonna lie, it took me an embarrassingly long amount of time to be able to get all the footage that we needed to get up through the end of this video. Um, it takes a little bit of time when you're trying to be as over prepared as I am. Obviously, attempt 69 here, nice. Yeah, it's uh, it's been going good, and I've enjoyed the ride, and I hope you guys have too. So let's just kind of get into it and go ahead and see where all of this takes us, because there just isn't that much more left. And the way that this whole thing starts out, for anybody who doesn't know how to get to Lost Cities, we'll take a look here. We've got the Amalgalich that we still need to fight over there. We will absolutely do that. We're going to save that for last. But we've got some additional baubles. They're not showing here. We talked about that in a prior video as well. They're hidden achievements. But to get over there, we need to craft our little shrine, and that means making a couple lanterns and a bed, and then finding a place to set it up, surround it with skulls, and then we're able to sleep our way into the Lost Cities. So prior, we had the materials here to be able to craft the lanterns. Takes 8 of the I believe it's the forged, yeah, the forged blocks, 2 of the glowstone blocks, and then we're going to make 2 lanterns out of all of this here. Pretty simple configuration, gives us our 2 lanterns. And that alone is going to give us the achievement here, and then it's going to tell us, okay, you need to go ahead and make a bed, and you need some skulls. Well, I didn't want to take the skulls off our trophy wall, because honestly, that took a long time to to get. So the easiest place that I know of to get a whole bunch of skulls is out in the desert. There's these kind of wither-shaped shrines made out of cobblestone that have 3 skulls on them that you can find periodically throughout the desert. And it occurred to me that that was going to be the best way to go ahead and get a hold of some. As we warped into our little first desert city area here, completely forgot that I had left a geological event full of mobs hanging around the town here. I don't believe very many of the townsfolk were alive, but we cleared it out a little bit, searched around there, couldn't really find anything, so we moved on to another desert city. And we've got some area to explore here. Fortunately, didn't take too long to find the first set of these, just out here in the middle of the desert. And that's what we're talking about there. They're almost hard to spot, but the cobblestone is definitely out of place inside of the desert. So if you just kind of keep your eyes shifting around from side to side, you'll be able to spot them. But that gives us halfway of what we need. That's 3. And sadly, it would take an embarrassingly long period of time to find this next one. We went through about 8 of the other desert cities before we found this one here to give us the last ones that we needed. It's really the funny thing about RlCraft is that when you need something, you tend to not have it readily available. And you guys have seen this series as it's progressed. I mean, we've got storage all over the place. I tend to hoard a lot of things that I think will be handy or I'll need later, and I still find myself in these situations where it's like, ah, crap, now I need to go out and fly around for hours on end, literally, and try to find where all this is going to be. How am I going to collect it all, and why didn't I do this sooner? So we already have a portal room kind of set up. Makes perfect sense to kind of put a bed here. So if we can get to the Nether, we might as well be able to get to the Lost Cities here. The nice thing is this isn't an open two-way portal. In fact, it's if you're not prepared when you go into the Lost Cities, it is very much kind of a one-way trip. Although you can get the materials in the Lost City to make a way out. You can create warp scrolls, which is kind of nice. But let's talk about the prep work here. So we're going through and we're drinking a whole series of potions as we get ready to go in the Lost City. Included in this batch is invisibility, health boost, iron skin, long arms, which gives us reach, super important, really love that. True shot for the archery just because, diamond skin, but more importantly, those flight potions that we crafted prior when we were doing the first couple bosses, because they really give us that nice creative flight, which is super handy. Combined with the invisibility, means that very few mobs are actually going to ever take notice of us as we go through Lost Cities. We, of course, are eating the battle burrito, the risotto, the explorer's risotto. You see the plethora of buffs there on the left side. This is a pretty common strategy. Lots of videos out there on all of this. And then we top it off with all the wine, right? So the ironberry for the full absorption hearts. We drink the wildberry wine, ironberry wine for the absorption hearts. Wildberry wine to increase the level of the enchantments that we have. And then, of course, our pure 1.0 grade wine to be able to get maximum duration here. And now that we're in the Lost Cities, we're placing down our own waypoint. Makes it super easy to get kind of in and out and back and forth. We've got warp scrolls with us. Really isn't any problem here. You take a look at the quest log, and this is going to progress us to the next section here, which basically comes down to now having to make sentient weapons, which means we're going to have to spend a lot of time farming beacons. We'll show a little bit of what the beacons are and a little bit of kind of farming that towards the end of this particular video. But I want to go about and try to find these race rings that we're going to need to close out the Bauble chapter. And there are quite a few of them to be had, and not all of them can be found in the same types of places. So we're starting with the ones that are kind of the easiest. And as you see, the concept here with these enchantments that we have, with these potions that we're drinking, is to basically just fly around and loot the top levels of the various buildings that we come across here. Technically speaking, this would not be a horrible strategy to get to the Lost Cities much sooner. And you could do it with very minimal gear. You do not need to be as geared out as we are if you have the potions. So if you've got the potions, you're going to be relatively safe. Again, the invisible and the flight, the two major ones. Combine that with the wine, so it is going to take a little bit of prep time on the front end. But you could come here very early, in the mid game of RlCraft and loot these chests that are absolutely jam-packed with a lot of great stuff. So there's a lot of resources to be had in quite a lot of these things. Now here's an example of one mob who can see when you're invisible. And again, it's not that big of a deal. We've got, obviously our end game weapon here, but you can outfly them. So they're not as fast as you when you're fully buffed up. But yeah, there's, like I said, there's a lot of resources in here. It's pretty random, a lot of the stuff that you get, but I mean, there's just full-on blocks of things, blocks of diamond, blocks of gold, iron, etc. All the resources you could possibly want can be found in these chests, which is really kind of a nice thing. Now, what you had seen a little bit before, and I don't know if you noticed it, but you can see it here. We've got Fear Level 2 going on because we're not wearing a full set of silver armor, and we'll get to that. So you can come in here with whatever armor that you're wearing. Just know that fear effect is real. And when you get up to level 3, you can no longer do things that require the right mouse click to do. That includes using warp scrolls, opening chests, things like that. It can get a little crazy. But, it wears off relatively quick, so you just kind of fly away. And then even with Fear 2, you're still able to mine, you're still able to do other stuff. So the rest of these things, again, they don't really take notice of us too much. It allows us to get out there and just kind of completely, explore, see what's doing, loot and pillage to our heart's content. So as you saw there, what we're doing is we're basically just kind of picking a cardinal direction. I chose north. We're going to set out in this one direction. I'm being very kind of picky and choosy, so to speak, as to which of these buildings that I kind of look in to see what they've got. And I don't know that that's necessarily the right approach, but I've been told from what I've read and just kind of from what I've seen in other folks' videos on this. I'm certainly not the first to be doing any of this. Um, the taller the building and the more, call it, luxurious it is, and you can usually tell by inside the building there'll be blocks of gold and diamond blocks and whatnot, indicating that it may be a higher quality building, have a better chance of having the race rings or the better loot that you're looking for inside. So here it is again. We have that Fear level 3. That was another flying mob, and you can see I'm completely outpacing it. The minimap has no red on it whatsoever, so we're not around anything. Once it disappears, we're able to use the warp scrolls again and get back home. So while you can survive over there in just the regular armor and stuff that you have, it's not ideal for spending long periods of time. And I think we all know what that means. It's time to get some silver armor. We'll be right back. Insert SpongeBob cutaway. Which we didn't actually do because, we've done that once before and I'm not a one-trick pony. But here it is. We've got our silver armor. It took a really, really long period of time. In fact, this was multiple days worth of farming to get the enchantments that I needed because I didn't realize I didn't have another whole set. Oops. But it gives us everything that we possibly want, including that cure effect, which you see there on the left side of the buff. But really, it's nothing special. It's the same endgame enchants. We've got the Unbreaking 4 on here, so we did have to get the 4 Ancient Scrolls, but definitely well worth it because, honestly, silver armor is a little squishy. Noticeably, what's missing from the enchantment list, though, is any type of thorns. And the reason being is because it wastes experience points, evidently, when you're using thorns. And we want all the experience points that we collect to go into the advanced mending to repair the gear. Because honestly, if we're in the middle of fighting stuff in the whole thicket of everything, and a single piece of this silver armor breaks, we lose that cure effect, and we are going to be in a very, very bad way. It's not going to be impossible because of all the buffs and the potions and the food and the wine and all of that. We can still probably fly and get out of there, but that Fear 3 effect really makes things difficult. And with having the full set of the silver, we don't have to worry about fear at all. It's the only thing in the game that prevents it. And a nice little side effect is that you also don't get the intoxication effect because the cure buff cures that, which is kind of nice too. Not that it impacted us because we have, the baubles and all the other things too, but it's nice just not seeing that timer because that tends to be the one at the very bottom, and it makes it difficult to know just how much time you actually have left on your buffs. So now when I see the massive list there, I can see, okay, we're topped off, we're over 9 minutes on all of our buffs. We're good to go. I've got stacks of wine. We're ready for a more prolonged adventure here, and we don't have to worry about fear. Now, another fun lesson about RlCraft, when you think you've got everything as well prepared as you possibly can, inevitably there's going to be something that you are missing, that you forget about. And it doesn't dawn on you until a situation actually occurs where, oh crap, this would be handy to kind of have. And that moment occurs to me when, during our first time through the Lost Cities here, before we had the silver armor, I came across some chests that were locked. And I was like, well, crap, I don't have my lockpicks. And it dawns on me in this moment, I still don't have my lockpicks, even though I made a mental note to go back and get them. So with all the buffs, draining down, I don't want to really waste resources and wine if I don't have to, even though I've got plenty of it. It does take some time to make all of it, and I didn't want to have to pause things for, another couple days to stock back up. I frantically started searching through all of my chests because I have stacks of lockpicks, diamond lockpicks, and I have zero idea where I have left these things. And so I give up on the searching for where they went. have no idea, decide that, you know what, it's probably best if we just go ahead and make some. The time is ticking. But again, in the end, it's really not that big of a deal. We've got plenty of resources. Yeah, and honestly, at this point in the game, diamonds really kind of mean nothing. There isn't a whole lot of use for them, other than to make some of these resources. Now, what I don't know is if locked chests in the Lost City have a potential higher loot pool. I don't think they do. In fact, I think it's been confirmed elsewhere, either through Reddit or somewhere on the wiki, that locked chests actually have zero influence over whether or not the loot is any good inside of a chest. It's just part of the mechanics, of the game. So if a chest is going to be good or bad, has absolutely nothing to do with whether it's locked or not. But that also means you are going to run into good chests, presumably some that have things that we want, that will be locked. And having the lockpicks allows us to at least go, you know what, I don't have to second guess. So I'll be able to pick them, no big deal, back into the Lost Cities. For as much hype as Lost Cities get, and oh my gosh, it's so crazy and whatnot, I will say the potions, the wine, really trivializes the difficulty level. And as you can see here, we're evolving, we're getting smart with our scavenger hunting and just taking out entire walls. Fortunate that we did, found that chest deeper inside. Having that reach potion allows us to get to it, and we got our first race ring. And then immediately after that, this next building would have our second race ring, which was just really cool to see. What is a little surprising is, and it takes a little bit of getting used to when you're in the Lost Cities and you're used to just completely decimating everything in the overworld, even with these badass nunchucks and gear, I still find some things that I hit like that didn't immediately die from hitting, and it's ticking with the fire, which means it's adapted. It's no longer taking damage from it. So yeah, that's a thing. You've got to kind of be prepared for that. And there it is, Ring of the Titans. So all right, 2 down, and I think that means 4 more left to go. And then now there's a blighted one of those. We pieced out. Not that we couldn't handle it, but there really isn't anything to be got from those. I do seem to get struck by lightning quite a bit, and this guy was actually really crazy because I think he was the source of the lightning since he had the storm effect. But these infernal mutated Enderman things, boy, they're hard to kill. They're so crazy fast. But I figured this was a good time to showcase and test out just the fighting capacities of the gear and everything that we have. You can't spend the entirety of Lost Cities up in the clouds floating around. That's just not quite how it's going to work, especially if you want to be able to get any of the good stuff. And as it was, we do enough killing here and trigger a beacon. Boom, there's the ding, there's the beacon, level 1. These take a reasonable amount of time to level up. You've got to kind of hang around and kill stuff. I did notice, I kind of tested a little bit while I was here, the beacon wouldn't actually spawn anything if I was up in the air. And I think it was not necessarily so much about being in the air as it was invisibility and the combination of being up in the air. It didn't recognize that I was here. And so it would just kind of sit there. Sometimes it would be open, sometimes it would be closed, but it wouldn't spawn anything unless I was on the ground and near enough. And there you go. You see it's opening, it's spitting out its goodies, and it creates more of these things. And unfortunately, I killed some before they even hatched because, again, that reach. Super, super handy. Absolutely love it. You do have to be careful, though. You don't want to accidentally just break your beacon if you're truly farming these, trying to get them up to be able to get all the mutated, adapted mobs and whatnot for the drops to be able to create the sentient gear. Obviously, we're going to need to be able to do that. We will be doing that. That takes an awful lot of farming. A lot of that may be done just off camera because of how intense it is, but we'll be sure to get a few video clips of the beacons at high level in action. But yeah, This is Lost Cities, folks. It's not that horrible. It really isn't. And, you know, we used up all our wine. We were there for probably a good solid hour. Doing some farming. Didn't find any more unique race rings. We did end with another duplicate of the Fairless one. Yeah, so we got 2 of those and the Titan ring, a couple pieces of mob drops over there from the crazy stuff. And yeah, this is going to be our life for a little while. So next time, we will absolutely get the farming done, take stock of where we are, right? So the baubles, we've got 2 of them down, and actually that's 5 more to go. So there's 7 unique ones, evidently. And some of those we're going to have to check in other places, because I think like the dwarven ones can only be found in like the subway systems in the Lost City, so they're kind of a little more underground. More time on foot, we'll have to do that for sure. We still have the amalgam lich to kill, and we've got the sentient weapon to create. Put our little trophies in place. We've got pages and pages of these fun little hats. I absolutely love it. But we're going to keep the beard on because this is Old Bearded Gaming. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. We'll see you next time.